If your legs feel heavy by the time you reach the mailbox, if your feet are cold even in July, if you've noticed a cut on your ankle that's taking weeks instead of days to close up, your body is telling you something about your circulation, and it's telling you right now. Because here's what most people don't realize. The blood flow problem showing up in your legs and feet isn't something you have to accept. There are specific foods sitting in grocery stores near you today that can start opening up that circulation again. And the one at the very end of this list works faster than almost anything else on it. Stay with me all the way to the end, because the last food on this list has actually been tested in people with diagnosed circulation problems in their legs, and researchers watched it work in a matter of hours, not months. Before we get into it, I'd love to know whether you're 63, 74, or 88, or anywhere in between. How old are you watching this today? And what city or state are you joining me from? Drop both in the comments below. This community means a great deal to me, and every single story you share matters. Now, to understand why these foods work, you need to understand what's actually happening underneath your skin. Your legs and feet sit at the very end of your circulatory system, the farthest point your heart has to push blood to. Your body actually does this on purpose in a crisis. When blood flow is limited, it protects your heart and brain first, and your legs and feet are the first to be shortchanged. So when the arteries carrying that blood become narrow or stiff, from years of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or simply less nitric oxide production as we age, your legs are the first place to feel it. Heaviness, cramping when you walk a distance that used to be easy, cold feet that never seem to warm up even under a blanket. And in more serious cases, cuts and sores that take far too long to heal, because the blood carrying the nutrients and oxygen your skin needs to repair itself just isn't reaching that far. That's a frightening thing to notice in yourself, and I understand why, but it is not a life sentence. It's chemistry, and chemistry can be changed, often starting with what's already in your kitchen. Ruth, from Green Bay, Wisconsin, wrote to me about this exact thing last year. She loved gardening, kneeling in the dirt, planting her tomatoes every spring, but by midsummer, her feet would go cold and tingly even in warm soil, and she'd have to stop every few rows to let ache in her calves settle down. Her doctor mentioned circulation. Ruth assumed that meant medication or worse, giving up her garden altogether. But when she started making a handful of small changes to what she was eating, the same changes I'm about to walk you through, she noticed something within about 2 weeks. Her feet weren't going numb halfway through weeding anymore. She got through an entire row without stopping, then a whole bed, then the whole garden. Now Ruth's story isn't unique. And what worked for her starts with something most people have sitting in their pantry right now, completely overlooked. So let's count down 7 foods that support real, measurable blood flow to your legs and feet, starting with the one most people underestimate and ending with the one that's been tested directly in. People with diagnosed leg circulation problems. Number 7, beans and legumes. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but stick with me. Beans are loaded with soluble fiber, and that fiber does something specific. It feeds the bacteria in your gut that help regulate inflammation throughout your entire bloodstream. Less inflammation means the lining of your blood vessels stays smoother, instead of rough and sticky, which is exactly the kind of surface that narrows arteries over time. In one clinical trial, adults who consumed a bean-based protein daily showed a measurable improvement in how well their blood vessels dilated within just 6 weeks, alongside lower markers of inflammation in their blood. If you're using canned beans for convenience, just rinse them under water first, which washes away a good portion of the added sodium. Even a half cup a few times a week starts shifting that inflammation number, but beans are really just the warm-up. What's coming next works on your blood vessels in a completely different way. Number 6. Berries and citrus fruit. You eat with the peel and pith left on. Blueberries, blackberries, and cherries are rich in compounds called anthocyanins, which researchers have found help protect the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels from the kind of damage that leads to narrowing. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. The white pith just under an orange or lemon peel and the skin of an apple contains a compound called ursolic acid. In animal research, ursolic acid has actually been shown to help restore blood flow to tissue that wasn't getting enough oxygen by encouraging the body to grow small new blood vessels. So the next time you peel an orange, Don't scrape off every last bit of that white layer. Leave some behind, or better yet, eat your apples unpeeled. A handful of berries most days of the week is plenty to start feeding that benefit. Now here's a food that doesn't just calm that inflammation, it tells your arteries to relax and open wider, and you'll find it at the fish counter. Number 5. Fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel. These are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, and those two compounds do something your circulation needs as you get older. They encourage your blood vessels to release more nitric oxide, the gas that tells your arteries to relax and widen. Wider arteries mean easier blood flow all the way down to your feet. Omega-3s also calm inflammation along the vessel wall, the same rough, sticky inflammation we talked about with beans. If you're not a fan of fish, even 2 servings a week, about the size of a deck of cards each, makes a measurable difference. And if seafood really isn't for you, a quality omega-3 supplement can help fill that gap. Now, here's something that surprises people. Cold feet, on their own, don't automatically mean poor circulation. For a lot of people, it's simply thinner natural insulation as we age. But when cold feet show up alongside cramping numbness or a cut that's taking weeks instead of days to close, that combination is what tells you circulation deserves real attention. That's exactly why we're focusing on foods that address the mechanism directly and not just chasing the symptom. If you're finding this helpful, this is exactly the kind of thing I cover every week. Practical, food-based ways to protect your independence as you age. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe. And if you know someone whose legs or feet have been giving them trouble, send them this video. It might be exactly what they need to hear today. All right, let's keep going, because the next food on this list has research behind it specific to people your age. Number 4, garlic. Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which forms the moment you crush or chop a fresh clove. And allicin has been shown in research to boost nitric oxide production and improve blood flow within 30 to 60 minutes of eating it. But here's what really matters for you specifically. A clinical trial done in older adults at risk for circulation problems found that a single dose of aged garlic extract improved microvascular blood flow. That's blood flow in the smallest vessels, the ones deep in your legs and feet, not weeks. A single dose. For the biggest benefit, chop or crush your garlic and let it sit for about 10 minutes before you cook it, which gives that allicin time to fully form before the heat breaks it down. A couple of cloves added to your meals a few times a week is one of the simplest things on this entire list. I want to pause here and tell you about Bernard from Tallahassee, Florida. Bernard used to walk to the grocery store every morning. It was his routine, his exercise, his little piece of independence. But over a year or two, that walk started to hurt. Cramping in his calves would force him to stop on a neighbor's lawn and wait it out before he could keep going, and some mornings he'd give up halfway and turn back. He told me he started avoiding the walk altogether, which meant avoiding the store, which meant relying more and more on family to bring him groceries. That's the part that really got to him, not the pain itself, but what the pain was quietly taking away from him. When Bernard started working garlic, fatty fish, and a few of the other foods on this list into his routine, the change wasn't overnight. But within about a month, he told me he made it to the store and back without stopping once, for the first time in longer than he could remember. He's walking again. And that's really what this whole list is about. Not just numbers on a chart, but getting your life back. All right, back to the list, because what's coming up next includes 2 foods that researchers have studied directly in people with real, diagnosed circulation problems in their legs. And the very last one might surprise you. Number 3, black tea. Black tea contains compounds called catechins, some of the same polyphenols found in green tea, just changed slightly through the oxidation process that gives black tea its color. In a clinical study out of Italy, patients drinking black tea showed a real increase in circulating cells that repair the lining of blood vessels, along with measurably better artery function. Compared to a placebo, a healthier vessel lining means your arteries respond better, opening up more easily when your legs need more blood, like when you're walking, gardening, or climbing stairs. One thing worth knowing from that same research, when cream was added to the tea, the dairy fat blunted those benefits. So if you're drinking black tea for your circulation, try it with a splash of oat or soy milk instead, or simply black and let it steep a full 3 to 5 minutes so the catechins actually make it into the cup 2 cups a day is a reasonable, sustainable target. Number 2, dark chocolate. And I mean real dark chocolate, 70% cacao or higher, not the milk chocolate candy bar in the checkout line. Cacao is loaded with plant compounds called flavonols, and there is one study on this that I think about often. Researchers took a group of patients in their 60s, all of them already diagnosed with coronary artery disease, and had them drink a high flavonol cocoa beverage twice a day for 30 days. At the end of that month, the function of their blood vessels, measured by how well their arteries widened in response to increased blood flow, improved by 47% compared to the low flavonol control, 47% in 30 days from cocoa. But here's the detail that stood out even to the researchers: the number of circulating angiogenic cells in these patients' blood, the specialized cells your body sends out to repair damaged blood. Vessels more than doubled. Their bodies were sending out repair crews faster and in greater numbers simply because of the flavonols in that daily cocoa. One quick shopping tip: look for chocolate labeled non-alkalized, or not Dutch processed, that processing step, which makes chocolate darker and milder, strips out a large share of the very flavonols. You're after an ounce or two of the real thing, a few times a week, feeds that same mechanism in you. Now, everything I've shared with you so far is backed by real research. But the very last food on this list isn't just backed by research. It's been tested directly in people who already have diagnosed blood flow problems in their legs, and even in healthy older adults. About your age, and what researchers found happened faster than almost anyone expected. Number 1, beets and beet juice. Beets are one of the richest food sources of natural dietary nitrates, and here's exactly what happens once you eat them. Your body converts those nitrates into nitrites, and your nitrites convert into nitric oxide, that same gas we've talked about throughout this video, the one that tells your blood vessels to relax and widen. Beets don't just theoretically help. In one study, healthy men in their late 60s drank concentrated beetroot juice, and researchers measured blood flow directly in the femoral artery, the major artery that runs down the leg. Just 2.5 hours later, that artery was dilating significantly better than it had before. And in people with peripheral artery disease, the medical term for exactly what we've been talking about, narrowed blood flow to the legs and feet, the effect goes even further. In one clinical study, those patients drank beet juice and were then asked to walk on a treadmill. Compared to a placebo drink, the beet juice group walked 18% longer before their leg pain even started, and their total walking time before they had to stop increased by 17%. Again, this wasn't after weeks of daily use. These improvements showed up within about 3 hours of drinking it. 3 hours? That's about as close to fast as food gets. So what does this look like for you? You don't need to become a beet farmer. A cup of roasted or boiled beets, or about 8 ounces of beet juice, a few times a week, gives your body a real measurable dose of those nitrates. If you go the pickled route from a jar, just watch the sodium and added sugar on the label, since we already talked about what too much salt does to that same blood vessel lining. Some people notice warmer feet or less heaviness in their legs the very same day they start. That's not a coincidence. That's nitric oxide doing exactly what it's supposed to do. One last thing before we wrap up. These foods work even better together than they do alone. A little olive oil with your garlic, or a square of dark chocolate after your salmon dinner helps your body absorb more of these compounds at once. You don't need to eat all 7 every day. Rotating through even 3 or 4 of them across your week is enough to give your circulation a steady, ongoing signal to improve. So there you have it, 7 foods, each one working through a slightly different mechanism, but all of them pointing your body back toward the same goal: stronger, more consistent blood flow to your legs and feet. Beans and berries, calming inflammation. Fatty fish and garlic, boosting nitric oxide. Black tea and dark chocolate, protecting and repairing the lining of your blood vessels. And beets, tying it all together with results researchers measured in a matter of hours. None of this replaces your doctor, especially if you're already dealing with diagnosed circulation problems, diabetes, or wounds that aren't healing. Please keep working with them and think of these foods as something that works alongside their care, not instead of it. But small, consistent changes to what's on your plate really can make a difference in how your legs and feet feel, not just next year, but potentially this week. Pick just one food from this list, the one that felt easiest to you, and add it to your plate today. If this video helped you, do me a favor and share it with someone who's been dealing with heavy, achy, or cold legs. And if you want to know exactly which vitamin deficiency is quietly making circulation worse for almost everyone over 60, that's the video I'll see you in next.